Hello. Chris here with another episode of the Make It podcast. And this is an Indie Talk week. And that means I'm here with my good friend and co-founder, Nicholas Buggs. Nick, say hello.
Aloha.
Aloha. Welcome back.
I just hit you with the three, bro.
Yeah. The
triple aloha.
The triple aloha.
Yeah, man.
A little callback action.
Yeah, took it back. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I should have worn an aloha t-shirt.
I know. I thought about it. I just figured I would throw you the triple aloha, you know.
The triple aloha. The triple aloha.
Yes,
man,
sir.
It's been a while since me and you've done this. And here we are entering the Christmas season already. I can't believe it. I put this post up on Instagram the other day, and it basically was like lyrics from Frank Ocean's song DHL. And it basically says, the whole point of it is basically like the year's almost over, but for us, it's not even like we have a lot more that we could put out. And like the question is, you know, how much of this content goodness should we foist upon this esteemed audience? You know, like
all the content, man. I mean, of course, we got to balance, right?
Yeah, we gotta
because
balance it, man.
We understand that, you know, people have other things to do, you know, of course, lesser important than listening to us talk. But, you know, we understand they have other things to do. So we don't want to foist ourselves upon them. That would not be right. You know, we want to be respectful of them during this cramped holiday season. Why is it
that people hate the word moist, but then don't hate the word foist?
That's a good question. I think there's a certain type of person who would actually even consider the word foist in a conversation, right?
That would be me.
Right. And
I foist upon you.
You're right. And can you imagine if we keep saying the word foist, it might just lose all meaning whatsoever.
It might just start sounding like moist, and then people will click
right.
pause button.
Dude, we've already lost so many people. We got to stop.
Just by saying moist, foist over. There's no other words that rhyme with that, or there's probably an obvious word that I'm not thinking of. But anyway, the whole thing about not putting out too much content, and it is a real issue, like all joking aside, like I feel like there are 2 to 3 super powerful interviews that are sitting out there right now that, because of just the holiday season, people are going to have to go back to anyway. Like, please do not sleep on the Dr. Goulston and Frederick interviews.
Right.
Like, not that people have, like, we've gotten really great results from that so far and a lot of feedback. But I think the Frederick one in particular, because it was released, I think, right on Thanksgiving Day or the morning of the day after Thanksgiving. And it was an easy episode to sort of say, oh, well, you know, I'm out of town or I'm in a turkey coma, whatever it is, and miss it. And it's just not to be missed. Like, we're going to grab some quotables from that and push some stuff like that from it in December. And I think it's going to push people back to that, and they'll need time to actually digest that episode. And then you've got the Charlotte Larston on top of that. And the longer we talk, the realer she gets, as it turns out in this particular interview. So,
remember, it's also, so the benefit of the holiday season is that people take off.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So this is a perfect time. You know, you're going to be at home. You got that eggnog, if you drink eggnog, or maybe it's, you know,
boiled custard,
silk, you know, a little silk. Or almond breeze eggnog, you know, whatever your flavor. But you're sitting back at home, might as well turn it on, you know, listen to some of these episodes. And, you know,
in
we're
between
not
your Christmas
averse.
Movies.
Exactly. And we're not averse to people, you know, listening to a little bit of Frederick and then saying, oh, let me pause that real quick and then see what Charlotte's talking about. Right. We're good with that. You know, check out a little bit of this, a little bit of that, because there's so much goodness that you can always come back to it as well. So, yeah, definitely check out these episodes, because tons of goodness in there.
Just to give a sense for the audience of who these people are, you know, Dr. Goulston's a best-selling author. You know, he's been a psychiatrist, suicide prevention guy. He's out there saving lives every day. It's a great documentary on Amazon. Frederick's an Emmy award-winning filmmaker, and Charlotte writes for Grand Crew and has written for a bunch of other shows as well on Grand Crew on NBC. So these are all worthwhile interviews. You're going to learn a lot about what to do in the film business. And I do want to talk about what your favorite holiday movies and drinks are, since we kind of brought it up.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, let me bring on producer Papa Bear. Producer Papa Bear is coming on for the second time, our new segment called Things We Should Know About the Movies. So, Papa Bear, break us off with something we should know about the movies.
Well, we have this big kind of blockbuster, bigger than life movie coming out tomorrow, Babylon.
Oh, I think it comes. Yeah. You're right. Tomorrow.
Yeah. And the lead actress in it, Margot Robbie, is also in it with Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's a supporting actor in this one.
Really? Because I've so full disclosure, I've seen this movie. Thank you, Producers Guild. And Brad Pitt is in that thing from beginning to end. I can kind of see why he is the supporting actor, but he is in almost every frame of that movie. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you might call it a double lead.
Yeah.
But Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt have collaborated on 3 movies, including Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the 3rd movie that those two have collaborated on. So what are the 2 films they've worked on together other than Babylon?
Okay, so me and Nick are going to work on this, and then I'll bring you back on at the end of this talk to give us the answers and tell us if we're right. Okay.
Okay, and I'll give you a little extra to add on to it if you want to think about it.
We are going to
how many in those other 2 films that they've worked on together? How many scenes did they share?
Holy moly, that's a nightmare.
Yeah,
man, that's not happening. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm going to be straight up with you right now. I can answer that question. I'm going to go to Dr. Google.
What, you're cheating?
Yes, cheating.
100%.
If you get anywhere near it, I'll get it to you.
Like, I'm not even, I have no clue. I'm sitting here racking the brain. I'm like, they've been in a movie together? Like, when did that happen?
So right away, I think, thank you, Papa Bear, by the way. Right away, I think about Leo DiCaprio and Margot Robbie. So Wolf of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
I think about Will Smith and Margot Robbie in that one where, Will Smith would prime people. That was like an underrated movie. It's good.
Yeah. What's funny, you mentioned that. I'm curious, and we should probably do a poll at some point. Like, how many people know about that movie? Like, that came up one day and I was like, what is this?
It's a good movie. It's like it's got a Hitch vibe to it. If you guys remember Hitch with Eva Mendes, it's got that. It's very watchable. Like, if it comes on, you're going to watch it. It's kind of like when Elf comes on during Christmas time or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, is it going to come on? Like, is that a movie that we're going to see just randomly? Or is that something that you're going to have to like go check out? Like, you're going to have to find that movie.
Well, it's funny because you might have to find it because I don't even remember the name of it. I just know Will Smith and Margot Robbie were in a movie together, and Will Smith is a con man.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
He's a confidence man.
Right.
Yeah. And this is like the last sort of like bastion of Will Smith's jackness. Right. He was like pretty jacked in this. But when it comes to Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, I'm having a hard time.
I'm at a loss, man.
I'm having a hard time. I feel like I should. That's why we call this things you should know about film. Right now, there are people in the audience listening like, you guys are idiots. Like, so obvious.
No,
but I got nothing.
Googling. So there's people out here Googling. Just
let's just talk, and then it'll come to us. And by the end of the conversation, we'll see if we have something for PB. Right. But cool, here's my Christmas drink. I like to do eggnog, spiced eggnog. So the Southern Comfort eggnog. And I think it's spiced vanilla eggnog, actually. And
yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah. And spiced rum. Mm-hmm. And so you do 1 part spiced rum, 4 parts. So every 1 part of spiced rum, you would do 4 parts eggnog to get the blend right. Now, what I like to do, I do it a little different. There are a lot of people who just go fast and dirty with this thing because they want that cream in their mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Pregnant pause.
Yeah. so if they're trying to get it in, they're trying to get that cream fast so they can swallow it down, they're going to go fast and dirty and throw rum in there and throw the eggnog in there and just drink it. For me, I want to savor it a little bit and have and spice it up. So what I do is I take a shaker or a jigger. I said jigger. And then I fill it with ice.
That's the same thing.
I put, I put it in the shaker and use a jigger and then pour my rum and my eggnog in. And then I'll sprinkle nutmeg.
I love the way you're looking at me right now, because it's like nutmeg.
It's so intimate. I wanted to say nutmeg, and then I'll take cinnamon, and then I'll sprinkle cinnamon. Not a lot, just a, and then
just a dash.
I'll shake that up,
and
then put a cinnamon stick in a glass that kind of similar to this. So I guess for those just listening, I'm like holding up a stemless wine glass that's filled with red wine right now by Crowned Beast. This is a God, how do you pronounce that? Saperavi. It's from Georgia, not the state.
Not the state.
But the country. So anyway, it comes in a glass like this. You pour it in there, and then you throw a cinnamon stick in that bitch.
Mm-hmm. So I just want everyone to understand, because there's going to be some folks who catch this on YouTube, which is awesome. But then you're going to have folks who catch it on the podcast platform of their choice. Mm-hmm. And if you caught this, or if you're catching this on the podcast platform of your choice, you're not really getting the full animation that is happening right now behind this description. I have to tell you folks that man Chris is so excited about this drink. He is moving in his chair. Mm-hmm. He is shaking. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the shake weight? It's like he's shaking like he got a shake weight, right? He's shaking like a Polaroid
shake weight
picture.
Episode of South Park, by the way.
There you go.
One of the greatest episodes of animated television of all time. Okay, so what's your drink?
Oh man, see, it's difficult now because 100% honesty, I'm like pulling back from alcohol. Right,
Good for you, man. Back. I need to do the same.
Yeah, man. But it's this thing where it's like I still have the taste for it, right? I still want something. It's crazy. I got this whole bar at the house and I haven't touched it. Everything just sitting there waiting for somebody else to come drink it. And the primary reason is that I want to sleep better, right? I want to wake up better. I know 100% that it's poison and I don't need to be drinking it, but it's part of it's a habit. It's a taste or whatever. So anyway, I've been pulling back. So normally I would be in almost the exact same camp as you as far as the drink is concerned, right? It is going to be, an eggnog, whether it's spiced or not, doesn't necessarily matter to me because I can spice it in your mouth. But also because I can spice it. Yes. So that's the thing. And you can't always find the SoCo, right? Yeah. And the other thing is that, the milk doesn't quite sit well with my belly, right? So I need something like
tender belly. I don't know if this audience knows.
I do. Outside of the, the muscles,
I'm an iron trap. I'm an iron trap. You're like Samuel L. Jackson in Unbreakable or whatever.
Unbreakable when it comes to the belly.
Is that what it's called? Unbreakable?
Yes. Yeah. Or
you're
Glass.
You're like Mr. Glass.
Yeah, Mr. Glass. So now I'm about that almond milk, but it's like, so an almond milk nog. And then I'll spice it, right? So you got to do the nutmeg, you got to do the cinnamon, you got to do the cinnamon stick, all the stuff that you mentioned. And that's basically my go-to. But the hardest thing now is actually finding one of these almond milk or soy milk or oat milk eggnogs that actually taste good. Now you talking about that cream in your mouth, bro. my wife bought me one of those that was so thick, it was just gross. I mean, basically drinking it was like drinking phlegm. Like that thick. And I was like, oh, nope, I can't do this. So that's my thing. I'm trying to find a blend And I think what I'll have to do is I'll have to, buy one of these that sits well with my belly. And then I'll have to doctor it up a certain way to make it work for me. So that's my drink. It's always eggnog. Like eggnog is it. If I don't have eggnog in the holidays, then it's not the holidays.
I find that in general, that's a great point you make about, this is the holidays, and without this thing, it's not the holidays. I do find that if I have downtime and I don't have a lot of responsibilities, I might pour myself a drink once a day, once every 2 days, which is an increase for me. Because I do, like, unlike you where you have to pull back because you're an alcoholic, I have a bar that normally just stays, like I said, waiting for people to come over and drink just like you. But during the holidays, I'll find that like there's downtime. I don't have as much stress. So why not have some eggnog and rum or have some red wine? So I have to be careful. There's a Alan Watts quote that says something along the lines of, we know we're killing ourselves, but because the death is so sweet, we can't stop, or something along those lines.
Yeah. Or you just
Alan Watts is so good, man.
No, or you just know the 95-year-old person who drinks a glass of whiskey a day. Right. And you're like, it can't be killing us. Like, come on.
Well,
like
it's all about, like the devil's in the dose. Right.
Right.
Like I used to have a homeboy that I did music with, and he would swear that he could rhyme better because he was rapping. He could rhyme better if he was high. And for a little while, it was true. Like he could freestyle for like 8 minutes straight. Like it was unbelievable. He'd like be in the cypher. He'd be like a cypher of one, bro. Like he was awesome. And then like a month goes by, and then it was like, man, I tell you what, I sing better when I'm high too. So then he's sing high. And then it was like, you know what? I do math better when I'm high. Right, so all of a sudden he's doing equations high. And then in a year, he's like a full addict of all things.
But the question is
falling apart.
But does he do everything better?
No. And then he started doing everything worse.
There you go.
Like you get to a point where it's like, then you hit the cliff and you fall off that bitch. Like it's like,
you diminishing returns. Yep.
Anyway, I highly recommend those drinks. I highly recommend picking up an Alan Watts book. I read Alan a decade ago, and I'm just now revisiting him thanks to an artist named Akira the Don. So go look up Akira the Don. What he does is so niche, and it's what we talk about in filmmaking all the time, Nick, where he will take a famous person and he will create an entire EDM album around their famous quotes. So his first album was with a guy I love named Naval Ravikant. So if you don't know who Naval Ravikant is, he's a wonderful philosopher and tech investor. And he has an entire album of just Naval quotes. Well, his second album is now all Alan Watts quotes. And I like to just run to it. So it's like getting therapy and mentorship, a fierce beat, all while you're getting your cardio in. So it's Akira the Don, and his latest one is with Alan Watts. So we talked about movies. And so the thing that was interesting to me about this is growing up, we didn't have access to so many touch points of content. And one of the number one complaints today from this generation, and really it's not even generational. It's like, I think everyone's feeling this. It's almost to the point of driving anxiety a little bit. We are in a state of information overload. You can't watch every series. You can't watch every new thing. You can't see every new viral post. And I've talked about this in the past. Like the way that shows up for me is when, I'll go to someone's Twitter. Like I went to the CEO of CEO of YouTube's Twitter page. Forget her name. It's like Susan. Anyway, she's a girl boss. She's a lady boss. I love it. But she will post these creators like Doug and like all these other people. I've never heard of them. And they have these enormous followings on YouTube and enormous followings on Twitch and enormous followings across social. And it's like, I'm not even in that world. I've never heard of you. And right now, the content world and space is so large that you can have 1 million plus following or more, and a good chunk of society will have never heard of you. So how I tie that back to Christmas movies is when I was growing up, you were going to have the same movies on rotation. You were going to have A Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on 34th Street, at some point, A Christmas Carol. Those were guaranteed, right? Yep. Like those were just going to be playing on network TV anyway. You couldn't avoid them. And as I got a little older, I would say Home Alone is now a classic as well. Maybe you throw Elf in there. You've mentioned to me personally offline, Trading Places, Christmas movie. Some people will say Die Hard. I don't know if that's a classic or not. But now there are 1 million choices.
Yes, on multiple different platforms, right? Yeah. Trying to hit multiple different audiences. And there's channels just for Christmas movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. There's enough content that those channels can run Christmas movies all day long. And Christmas movies from people that you never even heard of, and
not that that's a requirement, but it's funny. Yeah.
Right. It's funny. Well, it's funny to me because I was looking up, there's a movie like The Christmas Princess or something like that, right? I think there was a Christmas Princess too.
Yeah.
But if you were to type in like the Christmas Prince, like once you start typing that, you'll notice there's probably like 15 to 20 movies just called some version of A Christmas Prince or A Christmas Princess.
Yeah.
Like there's so many of them. Like it's so funny. It's like, it's just that topic, right? It's just, there's so many of them, but I can't say that, my family is really watching, a ton of those. I think I'm still in the camp where when it comes to all TV, but especially holiday movies, I'm in that camp where I'm sharing the movies from my childhood. Like you just mentioned Home Alone, right? Like Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, we're definitely watching those.
Imagine a time where Trump was in such good favor that he showed up in those movies and nobody
Home Alone 2,
grossed out about it.
The Home Alone 2, they use his hotel, right? Mm-hmm. So, but Grinch, do you think
he paid for that? By the way, do you think he got an EP credit for that to get in the movie?
I think that he let them use his hotel. I think that's how that worked out.
You think he used his location? He's like, you can use my location, but you have to put me in the movie.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that because for those listening, like that haven't been EPs on feature films, this happens a lot. Like,
well, it's a
there's a lot of quid pro quo that goes on to like finance a movie and to get it made. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say things like The Grinch. Those are classics in my household. But I also say that some of the new movies that have come out are movies that I would say are now kind of classics in my household. Christmas Chronicles, the first one.
Never even heard of it.
Everybody really likes that. Yeah, everybody really likes that movie. Oh, you got to watch it, bro. You just got to watch it. It's one of those where...
Does it take place in Narnia?
No, it does not. I like your link there of the Chronicles, but no, it does not. But then there's Claus with a K. That one's a really good one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's Arthur Christmas that we watch, and the kids enjoy that one. There's the ones that are like the elves. What's one of the elf movies called? Prep and Landing. That one. So anyway, there's a lot of new movies as well, but I still break out the old ones. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. So there's still these classics, right? But I'm curious about like what's the next generation? Like, are we going to lose some of the classics? In that next generation, like have we already lost some of them? Like Miracle on 34th Street. It's not on all the time. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to.
Right.
Film was different then. It looked different. It's like some of the stuff that I have my kids watch, they're quick to be like, oh, the graphics in that suck, or, that didn't cool. You could see the string, it's like things like that. We're like, that's not cool. They have a different level. Yeah. They have a different expectation.
Kids hate Peanuts Gang.
Oh, my kids don't.
They hate Charles Schultz. I'm like, what about that song though? Yeah, no. Dad, it sucks too. I'm like, it doesn't. Yeah. It's like objectively great. Like the theme song to that is objectively great. You can go to hell.
Yeah. Right. Come on, dude. Peanuts, man. Like those are classics. Like
I
my
hate
kids
Charles
don't watch
Brown.
any of that.
My youngest daughter calls him Charles.
Charles.
Just because she knows it gets to me.
Yeah, right.
I hate Charles Brown.
Yeah. So think about it. The next 10 to 20 years, will some of these films be even in the conversation when it comes to classics? Will Home Alone overtake It's a Wonderful Life and Miracle on 34th Street?
It's possible
in the conversation. Right. I think so. I mean, my kids, when it came to A Christmas Story, they started watching it, but then they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like playing in the room, and I'm sitting here watching this, and it's funny, man. It's like you get in this spot where it's like the get off my lawn guy, because I'm like, you whippersnappers, like you're gonna sit here and you're gonna watch this classic movie because it's one of the greatest movies, and you're gonna like it. Like I don't want to hear any nonsense. And that's what it's crazy because I'm like hilarious. Forcing the like on them. Right, I'm telling them you have to like this movie. You have no choice.
It's interesting to see. I might do that experiment, Nick. You might have inspired me to do it. Like I want to see what movies they will pick if I don't curate it.
There you go. Oh,
because I remember when we first got into indie film, almost all of our pitches were Christmas movies with dogs. And so it went from Christmas. So it was either a horror film or a Christmas movie with dogs, because somewhere along the line, independent filmmakers decided that those were the two genres that they could make a profit on, and they could sell their movie if they made a Christmas movie or if they made a horror film.
Right.
And then they started integrating the dog, and then they flooded the market. There's so many like It's Christmas Time and We Got a Dog movies.
It's a doggone Christmas.
See, I don't even know here's what's fucked. I don't know if you're lying to me. Right. I don't know if you're lying to me. That could be a movie.
Of course. It's about a dog that gets kidnapped on Christmas Eve. And, the family has to try to find the dog.
Are you lying to me?
I'm making something up, but I totally believe it's a legitimate thing.
See, I didn't even know. See, this is what's crazy.
Wait.
Oh my God, there's a movie called A Doggone Christmas.
I'm going to look it up right now. I'm just telling you, this is probably a thing.
I love the double entendre there. It's kind of like Wes Anderson, Isle of Dogs.
Yep.
Is a good one. Well, so then they moved from dog Christmas movies to rom-com Christmas movies, Nick.
Bro, you ready for this?
Yes, I'm ready.
2016, A Doggone Christmas. Wait, you ready? 2017, yeah. Santa Stole Our Dog, A Merry Doggone Christmas. Wait, I got one more.
Played by Joe Pesci.
There you go. 2019, A Doggone Christmas.
Voiced by Owen Wilson.
There you go. 3 films that are called A Doggone Christmas. Of course, bro. Of course. Like,
what do you think about Violent Night?
Oh, I'm going to see that. I'm going to see that
sidebar with John Leguizamo.
Yes, I'm going to see it, man. It's basically you're bringing
It's The Purge.
Well, no, it's Christmas? A Christmas. No, it's not The Purge. It is what they're doing. So, like earlier you said, Die Hard is one of those movies that, is it really a Christmas movie? I think a lot of people will call it a Christmas movie. And even on some TV shows, they've referred to it as like the best Christmas movie of all time. But this is the Die Hard Christmas movie. That's ultimately what this is.
The Die Hard's already the Die Hard of the Christmas.
No, but this is Christmas. It's Santa Claus. Like now it's not even a question that this is a Christmas movie.
This isn't Billy Bob Thornton being a drunk Santa. This is
in the spirit of Die Hard. But now they're saying we're going to make it official and we're going to put the lead in a Santa outfit and have him do Die Hardian stuff. So yeah, I think this might be a classic. If they do this well, they pull this off, I think this could be a future classic as well.
I used to love Dick Gregory's like take on Santa Claus, where, he always made sure that, his kids didn't believe in Santa. Like you work your ass off all year, and then you give all the credit to this fat white dude.
White man, it comes down your chin
on Christmas. You bust your ass and grind all year, and then your kids loved him. At the end of the day. Anyway.
So wait. One more movie I have to mention.
Please.
And I'm mad I didn't mention this earlier.
Yeah, please.
A Nightmare Before Christmas. My son loves that movie.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
It's classic.
Yeah. Your boy, Tim Burton.
There you go. Classic.
Absolutely classic. It's and it's for, like, it doesn't have to be for all kids, but I find that there is a certain type of kid that has a certain type of imagination that really appreciates it very deeply.
Right.
And we both have kids like that.
That's right.
So
because we were kids like that.
Yeah, probably so. And will it overtake Charles Brown? I guess it already kind of has. But yeah, exactly. But what's happened is, and this is just since we've been in films about 2015-ish. So I'm not sure before that exactly. I guess I could figure it out. But it went Christmas movie, Christmas dog movie, Christmas rom-com. Then it went to what we have now, and you mentioned it earlier, like entire channels dedicated to it. So it's like
but I feel like those are all Christmas rom-coms.
Hallmark and Lifetime. At
I
Christmas
think those are
time,
all
there's
rom-coms, bro.
Exclusively like dedicated to Christmas movies all December. You just turn on that channel and you just, get into a food coma and you just sit there in front of the TV.
Christmas coma.
Yeah, Christmas coma.
Yeah.
On Hallmark.
There you go.
Or Lifetime. And now our girl Kristen Baker, who's an incredible indie filmmaker, she makes the lesbian rom-com, or LGBTQ, as she might say, rom-com.
Right.
And that's like where that's going. And these are all like independent film trends. So the fact that they keep getting made, maybe there's something to it, Nick. Like maybe you can make your money back making independent Christmas movies.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's really about the platform that you put it on, and representation, like you're mentioning, is a big thing as well, right? Because as you mentioned about Dick Gregory talking about that, big fat white guy coming down, the chimney. I think that's what our Christmas movies used to really look like. Yeah. Right. It's like, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. So every Christmas movie you watch will be white people being very, very happy, and it's like, I think now there is definitely, more openings and opportunities for this, the essence of diversity and inclusion. So, everyone celebrates the holidays. So why not start making movies that are more inclusive, of a variety of people and backgrounds and interests. So yeah, make Christmas movies, make horror movies like that. But yeah, I think that there's new opportunities there. So yeah, why not make one? Sometimes you can force the diversity though. And and like I do feel like, and I'm all for it. I'm for it. No, you're all for diversity, not force, because I'm not forced diversity. You know where I stand on this stuff. Yeah.
Not forced diversity. Exactly. And there are these really fine lines that get crossed where it starts to feel gross versus feel, representative. There are times, and I'm on Twitter for the time being. I'm on Twitter, and I do enjoy Twitter in a way that I won't spend time explaining here, but it is my favorite platform by far of like all the social platforms. But I think it's because I have a lot to say or want to say, and I like learning and reading. But there are people on there that would talk about, hey, that's like the phrase, representation matters. And there is a line where, although representation matters, when it's forced on you in an unnatural way, you kind of recoil from it instead of embrace it, which was the goal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% in that camp. And I think there's so many different ways that representation or that diversity is coming through. And I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing as well, depending on what generation you're from, what background you're from, how much it feels like it's forced. One of the areas that I have had some conversations about, especially with my eldest daughter, is what I feel like is forced representation of women, right? Especially when it comes to, let's say like the Marvel universe, right? There's got to be basically a she everything, right? There's a girl version now of everybody, right? Even Captain Marvel is like another version of Captain America, but she's like got superpowers, right? And then there's a Miss Marvel, there's a She-Hulk, there's a female Hawkeye, there's a lady Thor, she thinks she called the mighty Thor, but now there's a female version. And then there's a conversation about James Bond, there's conversations about Indiana Jones, potentially. It's like all these characters are turning into women. And I guess the part for me is, one, it's all happening at once. Yeah. Right. It's like one after the next. And then as you're getting all of this representation, you're also getting films that are just, the primary actor is, the woman king, right? It's like, wow, you're doing it again, right? It's in my face. And for me, where it would feel more natural, and maybe again, this is just me, I'm not knocking female actors or female lead characters, whether they're the hero or the villain. Where for me, it would feel more natural is if they had their own role. The Woman King is good because it actually has its own role. I think that was just one of those things that just piles on everything else for me.
It was a great movie.
But I think it in itself is great because it's a singular character. She's not borrowing from, she's not borrowing from or becoming the female anything. She is who she is. And I think that's the challenge for me is it's like, why are we turning all of these characters into women? Why not just create new roles? Right. That's my thing. That's where it starts from scratch. Yeah. Let's start from scratch. Let's create a new paradigm, a new hero, a new heroine, a new weapon.
Feels lazy.
Yeah, it does. It's just like, let's just flip that. And now you're a woman. It's like, really? And I feel like it's a little disingenuous. Yeah. Right. Because when it comes to like She-Hulk, for example, one, I'm going to put it out there. I think I've already said it. I can't stand that series. But now you're just a female Hulk, right? Hawkeye. Yeah. Now you're just a female Hawkeye. Loki. Now you're just a female Loki, right? Why do you have to be the female version of a male character? Why can't you just be the first of you, right? The first of a kind of your character, right? Like, honestly, Lara Croft is Lara Croft as a character, right? She's not the female whatever. She's Lara Croft. Start from scratch. Yep. Right. And people loved her in the video games and in the movies. Right. Let's do more of that. And I think it'll feel, at least to me, a lot less forced than it is right now.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. The thing about The Woman King, by the way, again, I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. John Boyega, is that how you say his name?
Yep.
Yeah, he's in it. And it's kind of a trick because you go to watch the movie and he's the king. And it's not like he stops being the king 10 minutes in. Right. He's the king all the way to the end of the movie. He never dies. I hope that's not a spoiler. So it's weird. It's like, yes. She who plays the Woman King, Olivia.
No. Oh, you're killing me now. It's not Olivia.
We'll have producer Bear. We'll have producer Papa Bear.
No, what I'm going to tell you is this is another thing that we should know. It's Viola Davis. We shouldn't get that wrong.
I have no idea where I know the V's. That's why I said Olivia. I'm thinking Olivia Wilde. Yep. And then I mixed it up with Viola Davis. Viola Davis is awesome. And she's incredible in it. And she's a badass in it. Mm-hmm. Really incredible. But it's not, they kind of bait and switch you with the title. I'm just saying a little bit. I mean, okay. It fits. And it's like I said, fantastic film, but where it gets forced, it's a little brutal and a little lazy, maybe a lot lazy. Yeah. When it comes to, just trying to make sure that every single, there's a lot of it happening in the Marvel universe. There's a lot of it happens in sort of even outside of Marvel in just the superhero spectrum,
Yep.
even in
Agreed.
TV, where one superhero is trans, another one's gay, one's a black girl, one's an Asian guy, one of them's sort of chubby and short. There's and they're all superheroes.
I remember they did that with Ghostbusters, and I laughed when I was a kid when they did it. Like all of a sudden, it was the real Ghostbusters, and it was a Hispanic girl, and you didn't know if she was gay or not, right? It was just kind of curious, maybe not. Then you had you actually had a Latino guy, you had a guy in a wheelchair, a white guy in a wheelchair, you had a black guy. Like it was just, let's try to figure out every way that we can show representation. And it's maybe that's not a bad thing to put it all in one, but maybe it is, right? It's like, because then it feels like checking boxes. And if you feel like that's what it is, it distracts you from what you're supposed to be watching.
Yeah, I think you make the point. Like, just start from scratch and give us a character we can dig into. Because this isn't a get off my lawn rant. It really isn't. Right. Like, when Brokeback Mountain came out, I embraced that. Everybody embraced that. It did really well throughout awards season. And we knew what it was. We understood it. Call Me by Your Name with Armie Hammer before sort of his disgrace or whatever, and Timothée Chalamet. We all embraced that. We loved that. That was something that we were doing. We were going to see, I should say. And It wasn't, we didn't care. Like, we were into the characters. They were original. They were really well written. I'm trying to remember the one with the teenagers. I want to say I had the word bird in it. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was like, it's another one where
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird.
Yeah. Okay.
Female lead, written. It was original. It was great. And we embraced it because it wasn't lazy. But when you just say, and I don't hate that The Little Mermaid is black, but to your point, it's like, you didn't create a new character. You just took a movie that you knew would do financially well.
That's right. Yep.
And this is kind of the game that gets played, because it's like, they don't want to really show representation, meaning the studios. Like, they don't want to take a risk on it being a box office flop like Bros, like what just happened with Bros.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of hypocritical, because they did take the chance and you see that it flopped. But the point is like, why don't we take a known entity and just, hey, Ariel's not white, she's black. Hawkeye's not a guy, he's a girl. Like the Wakanda film.
Yep. It's hard, man. It's hard for me. And, I'm all about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like that's my jam. Like this, what we do here is about that life. But yeah, things like The Little Mermaid, especially, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Little Mermaid, bro. Like I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna deny it. I might be in a karaoke situation and I might sing Part of Your World. It just might happen, right? So I have the picture of Ariel in my head. And I think that's one of the issues that people are having, is that they have an image of that character in their head, and this is not that image, right? It's a huge departure from what they grew up with, right? What they know. And I think that's the challenge. I think a younger generation potentially doesn't care, right? They don't have the connection to those characters like we did. Like even, Indiana Jones, people might not care, man. It's like, okay, she's going to be a woman and she's going to, fine. Like, why do I care? I didn't watch the first, 5 movies, Right. So it's a new generation. They're going to be more accepting, but I think there is some,
I actually don't mind Indiana Jones because Harrison Ford had a hell of a run. And it's I like this. I don't mind it. See, that doesn't feel forced to me. That feels like a passing of the baton that's really natural, because she's not going to be Indiana Jones. She's going to be someone else.
No,
in the Indiana Jones role.
But if
they just said Indiana Jones all of a sudden is a woman and her name is Indiana Jones, then it would be like,
But here's the thing. We haven't seen it yet. Her name could be Indiana. It could be Indy. You know what I'm saying? She's the descendant.
Smart,
she's like her granddaughter.
if they're smart, they'll tell a father-daughter story that makes a lot of sense. Because Harrison Ford had a really long run with this character.
I know what I'm saying. He doesn't need to be him.
So it really makes sense for him to pass the baton to someone.
I know, but listen. Here's the thing. Why call it Indiana
How would
Jones?
it be different? Here's how would it feel if they remade Dirty Dancing and there's no Patrick Swayze character? Like there's two girls or there's two guys.
And call it Dirty Dancing.
And call it Dirty Dancing. And
dude, don't put that into the world. Don't do that.
They're going to make it.
Dude,
they're going to make it.
Stop.
And here's the thing for guys like us, and even like my sister is like her favorite movie.
Yeah.
It's gonna. The problem is sometimes it's so forced that it over indexes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
I hear you.
There still are a lot of, I guess, cisgendered heterosexual couples that still want to see a great rom-com,
right?
That reflects their representation, their lifestyle. So not every new thing has to hit that mark, because then it starts to feel like you said checking boxes.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, for me, if they wanted to introduce this new character, it would be awesome. Indiana Jones. Okay. It'd be awesome if they just gave it a different name. Right, different title. But in the movie, Indiana Jones shows up, right? So the whole point of it is that it's her movie. It's her as the character, but you do see somewhat of a passing of the baton in the film.
I think that's going to happen because they have talked about a de-aged Harrison Ford in it.
I know, but it's called Indiana Jones is my point. I would have loved if they had introduced this as a new character, a new
and
person.
had a different name.
Different name altogether. It's hers.
Different name of the movie and everything. Well, that's tough because then you have to deal with the IP.
Well, what I'm saying, but you just have Indiana Jones in it. They can do that. That's not a challenge for them. They don't have to name it Indiana Jones. You can just say that, Indiana Jones is in the film, so.
Well, just recognize they're having a hard problem with Bond for the same reason. They want to replace Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig, see, people don't know this. They think it's The Rock. They think it's Dwayne Johnson every time. Daniel Craig is the highest paid actor in the world.
Oh, well.
And he made $100 million last year.
Yeah, maybe
they want to replace him. They want to replace him as Bond and might have a woman, but all the money is wrapped around the IP of James Bond in 007. So they have to figure out a way to get around it if they want to do that.
Yeah, and honestly, there's a the thing. We'll see what happens with it. Okay, but to me, the IP of James Bond is masculine grit and, the spy action film.
Yeah.
Like that's the IP, right? It's not just the name, but the name is, it signifies masculine grit and all those things. So that's where it's a little bit difficult for me when then you say, okay, let's make James Bond or make 007 a woman, then it loses that. Right. It's like making saying, OK, we're going to take Jason Statham and we're going to make it a woman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can't replace that. You can't replace that manliness, right, of a Jason Statham in a film. No, you can make an action film with a woman. There's tons of them. They're great, but you can't replace that.
Yeah,
you just can't. So that's what it is
with
for
the
me.
Same with the same
Bond.
IP, right? Exactly. Like if they wanted to do it, I immediately think Angelina Jolie, maybe just because of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but Angelina Jolie is such a great actor. And then on top of that, she has a steeliness to her.
Yes, she does.
Where even though she's really thin, she seems to be able to pull off the ability to like show that she can actually fight or rough somebody up. I think Jada Pinkett has that vibe to her as well. There's a few. Now, I'm not in love. I love Queen Latifah. I'm not in love with her in The Equalizer, the TV show, because I don't think she's in good enough shape to be doing all that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I won't go there.
Take one knee in the middle of some of these fights.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
I love Queen Latifah.
Love Queen Latifah. But I hear you, brother. I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. I love her, but it just, it is what it is. So speaking of other topical things.
Yep.
We talked about this in our newsletter, so we have to bring it up before we go.
That's right.
But this really interesting, this Fascinating move that Reed Hastings and the team at Netflix did around Glass Onion. I watched Glass Onion in the theater. It was wonderful as expected. And hopefully there will be no spoilers. I don't think I'm going to spoil anything. But I think that there was a baked in spoiler for people who went to go see the movie late. Like they didn't make it to the opening weekend and they went to see it the next weekend only to find it's not in theaters. And one thing you told me offline that I thought was so interesting that I hadn't thought about was people thought the movie flopped because it had already been removed from theaters. Mm-hmm. Because we are trained to believe that when a movie doesn't do well and it's not making enough money for the theater chains, that it won't play in the theaters. It's not worth the real estate. But in fact, Netflix had actually pulled it, and it's going to make you wait until I think the middle of December into December to watch it on Netflix only.
Yeah, because as they say, they're in the business of having people watch films on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy thing because I know that they're saying that the film could have easily, if, kept in the theaters longer, could have made, what is it? Like 60 million for the next, weekend or two. And then double that,
every weekend in December, in my opinion.
Exactly. Like they could have just kept going, right? The numbers could have been crazy, but Netflix passed on that. And it's a big deal because when you pass on that, and you and I have had this conversation before about kind of the economic implications of a successful film, right? People do dinner in a movie.
Yeah.
Right. The theater itself makes money, right? Through concessions, right? So not only is the film going to make this money, but everyone around the theater, the candy store, right? The coffee shop, the ice cream parlor, the everything makes money. And they took all that money off the table, not only for themselves, but for the economy that is around the film, because they're not in the business of having people watch their films in theaters. Yeah, so the way that I saw that, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No, it's the way that I saw that. Yeah, the way that I saw that was like, they just put all of that, but that's like, all of that is not important. And they said, what's important to us is leveraging new ways to market our films on Netflix. So we used you, what I'm saying? Like we're using you, theater, as a marketing mechanism to, grow some buzz and some intrigue. And, maybe all those people who were disappointed, now that level of disappointment turns into anticipation, right? They weren't able to see it in the theater. And now they're driven to watch it on Netflix. And maybe they built enough human buzz, right? Because we talk about movies amongst each other. We do all that. They built enough buzz that now people will go watch it on Netflix, and maybe it'll work out for them. But it is an amazing and crazy thing for this industry that they did that. And maybe we'll see. If they're successful, it could set a precedent. And that precedent could be very ugly for the theater and the economy around the theater.
Yeah. It's they're still marketing it. And they, some of the people marketing it are still saying, "Hey, I hope you go see it in the theater," not realizing it's not there. It's not there anymore. And it's a true emperor has no clothes moment, because, well, maybe that's not the right phraseology, because basically the mask is pulled off. So for years we've heard the theater business may not survive. For years we've heard, and throughout the pandemic, we heard everyone's going to be streaming. I don't think the theaters are coming back. And now we kind of find out who is behind those stories potentially. And it's streamers. It's
there you go.
It has to be kept quiet because studios are dedicated to theaters. It's a very old relationship. They're courting a new woman or man or whatever. They're courting a new partner. They're courting a new way forward. And they have to keep it quiet because they don't want it to blow up in their face, because they've had this really long relationship. with the theater chains. It's like, where's all the press coming from? Where is all this news? What's all this push? Why is this coming out? Don't studios want theaters to survive? Isn't this the lifeblood of the business? And then you realize, like, oh man, they just removed the mask. It's them that's behind it. Right. They took the money off the table, knew what they were doing economically. They've paid for 3 movies for Rian Johnson already. They're going to get another Knives Out. That money's already gone. So everything else is upside to their subscribers. Their goal is to grow. I think about that phrase, the phraseology from Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Meta. Company over country. That's his quote, company over country. So and he was asked that by I think Maria Ressa, I think is her name, or Ressa, who's a freedom fighter, about, are you going to step in and, keep, moderate a little better, or keep this information from happening, and like keep elections from being affected by despots and things like that? He's like, if it grows my company, I don't care. Like, company over country. Right. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here, is like, people were happy to pay the $20 a ticket. They were happy to pay for the in-house concessions, food, liquor.
They still are.
They were happy to do the dinner and the pizza and the ice cream and all the stuff you mentioned. But Netflix is like, how does that help us again?
Right.
Like, we need we need to get people back in their houses.
Yep.
Watching our content. And we don't have a relationship with the theaters. We are a streaming company.
Yep.
And so they've dragged all these other streamers with them that do have relationships with theaters. And these other companies don't know what to do. They're like, oh, we got to chase Netflix doing this. And that means we're going to have to adopt their same modus operandi, but we can't do it. We can't take our mask off yet because we have this
only if it works. Only if it works. And I don't even know how you measure this.
They don't, like, subscribers. That's it. Subscribers and quarterly revenue.
I know, but what I'm saying is that, like, how do you really measure it? It's not just, I guess you could say, if a subscriber gets added and the first film they watch is Knives Out, right? Or Glass Onion, like, okay.
Their analytics team is off the chain, bro. Like,
I know, but what I'm saying is so much data. But if you join, right? But if you join and you watch something else, right? You can't attribute that to Glass Onion. So what I'm saying is, it's going to be difficult for them to measure the success of whatever this campaign was. So I'm just curious. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if the other companies are going to follow suit, because I don't know that they're going to be able to say that campaign was successful. Right. I just don't know that that's going to be able to come out. So we'll see. Yeah. Part of me sometimes thinks it's like a spit in the face. Maybe it's not a campaign. Maybe it's Netflix saying, see, we can do whatever we want.
Well, here's the thing. They don't have to split 50% with the theater for the whole run. Right. So anytime you have it in theater, that's a 50-50 split. Sometimes it's 51-49, and that makes a difference. Like, they're getting 100% of their subscriber revenue dollars by having them come. They're getting a little bit of theater. And their goal is, look, if we can take this box office and cover the fee we paid to Rian Johnson to make 3 of these films, then we're good. Everything else is net. Yeah. Is net positive for us. And if that model works, then that's what'll happen. But the sad thing about it is we do want to go out and see a thing. And I feel like over time, it might get to a place where the only thing that keeps the theaters afloat is the rules around awards season. Like, Netflix owns a handful of theaters in LA and I think New York, but I could be wrong about that. I'll need to be fact checked. Just so that their movies can have a 14-day run, so they can be, considered for an award. Right. And it's almost like how the dollar is the reserve currency of the world. And if it weren't, it would go to hyperinflation and the country would fold. So it's like, we just hold on because you can spend $1 in any country on the planet.
Right.
And if that ever got taken away, then we'd be in big trouble because we've overinflated the money. It doesn't have any value, right? There's nothing backing it. Well, same thing in theaters. Like they have a bunch of basically regulations that ensure their existence.
Right.
And good for them, because what else is a 100-year relationship worth?
Yeah, right. It's built into the policy. It's built into the whole
system
process and the system. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah,
I'm curious though.
Times.
Yeah, but you mentioned something that just, I don't know. This could be far fetched, but it's funny. It's like,
if I said it's probably far fetched,
but you mentioned this idea of them taking the split, and let's say it's 50-50, right? 51-49, whatever it is. Like, what if this whole thing was designed to renegotiate the split, right? Is to say, hey, look how much money the pundits say we left on the table by pulling out of the theater. Right. And basically showing them this is how much you as a theater could have made had we stayed there.
Yeah.
So, but we understand that we own that power now. So, okay, let's change this. Let's go 60-40. Let's go 70-30. You guys make your money off concessions.
Yeah, man.
You're making a ton of money off concessions. You're doing all this other stuff. So that's where you got your money. Let's change the split.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like I said, there's a game being played somewhere. We just don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is yet. And the truth is I have Netflix, and I'm an investor in Netflix, and I'm gonna watch Glass Onion when it comes out on Netflix. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to be a hypocrite about it. I love the theater experience. I thought it was so good to watch it, in the theater versus here at the house. And I have a theater at the house. So it's worth going to see on the big screen. Let's bring back in producer Papa Bear to get these answers, because I did what I thought I was going to do, which is come up with the movies. Now I swear on our friendship and our company, Nick, that I looked up nothing. I
swear, if you're going to ask me, I will Google it.
You Googled it? Did you?
No, I said if you were to ask me, I will Google it. I didn't Google it. I will. I mean, if you want me to answer it, that's the first thing I'm going to do.
I have two answers. I don't know if they're right. I'm going to go for it. All right, Papa Bear. I have.
Do you want to restate the question? So
restate the question.
All right,
for the audience.
So in the new movie coming out, Babylon, the lead actress Margot Robbie is in it with Brad Pitt, and this is their third collaboration. What are the other two films that they've collaborated on?
All right, here are my guesses. 12 Years a Slave and Bullet Train.
Wrong.
What
do you got, Nick?
Hold on. A Colgate commercial.
Solid guess.
And a sex tape.
No.
No, it's not. It's not what it is.
So here's the one you should have gotten.
Okay.
But at the end, I'll tell you why neither of you got it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Of course.
Oh, right.
Oh my God. How could I forget that? This is like me forgetting Viola Davis's name.
There you go.
Well, I was muted and I was yelling Viola Davis. Viola Davis. So the other one is
get on the microphone next time. All right.
The other one is the movie The Big Short.
Ooh, that's right. Wow. She was in The Big Short. She's not in it a lot. She's literally in it for, I think, one cutaway scene where they have her in a bubble bath and she's explaining a concept about the market. And Brad Pitt's not a lead character in The Big Short either. So The Big Short to me is it's like a top 100 movie for me. Kudos to Adam McKay. I would watch The Big Short anytime it comes on. It is so well done. It is so good.
Like right now, you would watch it.
Yeah. And it explains the 2008 crisis. from the derivative standpoint, better than any movie there is. There's a few movies that did it really well. This is the best one. The performance by now I'm going to forget another person's name. Oh my goodness, Steve Carell. The performance by Steve Carell is, I mean, he never misses anyway, but it's so good. They don't talk about the money side, the Federal Reserve side, the run on the bank side that kind of creates these boom and bust cycles. I guess it's because you don't want to fight with the Fed, and people would understand it anyway. But from the derivative standpoint, it's great. So Once Upon a Time, we're dumb. We don't, and these are things we should know about movies.
Here's the reason you probably didn't guess them. I had asked you how many scenes did they share in those two movies? 0.
Oh, you tricky Papa Bear. You're a sneaky.
Yeah, so they collaborated. Bear. They were both in the film, but they were never seen together, which makes you not remember that
until
got it. Yeah.
Babylon, and people,
and then you'll never forget it.
Yeah, you'll never forget it. And thank you, Papa Bear. This was very fun. And hopefully, so this is 2 weeks in a row where I'm pretty sure I don't know anything about the movie business or just movies in general, things I should know, but don't know. So this has been great for me because now I feel like I can win a trivia night. But for people who are going to go watch Babylon, it is tremendous. It is not just another movie. So this is a movie that's on movie of the year level. You will never forget it. The first 15 minutes from a visual standpoint and from the standpoint of shock and awe is only rivaled by maybe the Holy Mountain. like everything is happening in this first 10 minutes and it's crazy. It's just more comedic and less metaphorical than the Holy Mountain, but equally as shocking. And be wary, if you want to say wary, but be aware that it's a 3-hour movie as well. So you have a little bit of a commitment, but to me, the 3 hours just goes by because the story's done so well. I think has Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. I mean, it has so many cameos, so many great performances. So
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire showing up in it at
but maybe you should
2 hours in was unbelievable.
But maybe
and he was so menacing.
Don't tell people that it's 3 hours. Let them figure that out when they go to click on it, right? Because that, like you said, it requires a commitment. Maybe you shouldn't know about that commitment until you sit down and hit play.
Yeah, it depends. Like if you love cinema, you're going to love this movie. Yeah. If you are concerned with how long you're sitting in the theater, then this one won't be for you. But I love, my favorite movie of all time, or one of my favorite movies of all time, is Braveheart. I love Schindler's List.
Yeah, long movies.
I can sit in long movies if the movie is worthy of the time. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's not a short movie. Loved it. So yeah, Babylon. I haven't seen all the rest of the Oscar films. I have them queued up, ready to watch, ready to take them down like I did last year. So I don't have any to compare it against, Nick. But right now, I'm going to say Babylon is the best movie I saw this year.
Yeah, and I think standalone as well.
Might not be that close. And I've seen some pretty good movies this year.
Cool. Awesome.
So kudos to the team. Okay. Thank you, producer Papa Bear. Nick, I think we did the damn thing, man.
We did, man. Once again, this is great. And I'm sorry it took so long for us to get back, together on this and to make this happen, but this is great. It's like riding a bike, right? You just jump back on and just ride, man. We're cruising.
Yeah. This is fun.
We're cruising.
This is fun. I mean, one day we'll do like a live indie talk. I think that'll go well. or we'll do like a mega indie talk where we talk for 3 or 4 hours. And there will be some people who are in for it because then they'll get a glimpse of like what our everyday life is really like, where we schedule a 15-minute call and it goes 4 hours.
Yeah. Everyday
which
life,
is like our regular thing.
Exactly. Hey, bro, you got 5 minutes? I was like, yeah, right.
55
with
minutes.
that. Exactly.
55
exactly.
Minutes. So
yeah, well, maybe I'll have a deep pour when we do that. Yeah, maybe I'll bring it back.
Yeah, and if we do it in person, that'd be even better. We share a nice bottle. We should think about whether or not we're going to do and how we're going to do our end of year wrap up. We had so many great interviews this year. I'm curious if I just put out a poll in our newsletter, which you can get by going to bonsai.film/subscribe.
That's right.
No commitment, completely free, easy to unsubscribe from if you don't like it. But I think
you wouldn't want to do that.
But why would you do that? Yeah.
Right.
We might send out a little poll to see who was maybe the top 3 favorite listener guests this year, and then invite them on to talk about the year that was in film, the year that was in indie film, the year that was in their life, and just have a good time like we did last year. So it's just something.
Yeah, and what they're looking forward to in the new year to come.
Yeah, exactly. So let's think about that. But for now, if you want to get in touch with us, you know how to do it. _Bonsai Creative on social. Reach out to Nick at bonsai.film. That's his email address. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Flame in Your Heart. Your is spelled with UR. So Flame in UR Heart. You can find everything you want to know about Bonsai Creative and the Make It podcast, not just on the podcast player of your choice, but also at www.bonsai.film. We have so much in store in the coming year and even in this coming month.
Yep.
And last but not least, I'll say it again, our newsletter, blowing up, going wild across the country, across the globe. We love it.
Across the globe.
You can also join that group of passionate independent filmmakers and film folks and creatives at www.bonsai.film/subscribe. It's that simple. And with that, Nick, can you give us the credo?
Of course, but just before I do so, please remember that this podcast and the work that we do is also sponsored in part by the Voice of the Filmmaker program. And you can go to www.bonsai.film/donate to donate to that program, which is sponsored by Women in Film and Television. As I mentioned earlier, we are all about our diversity, equity, and inclusion, not because it is the latest set of buzzwords, but because that's who we are. That's how we were raised. That's what we do. We're a family in this filmmaking world, and we all come in different colors, shapes, sizes, credos, creeds, all the different things. So we are fully embracing of that, and we're happy to have the sponsorship of Women in Film and Television and the Voice of the Filmmaker program. And with that, I will say, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. We'll do it again, brother.
All right.
All right, man. Peace.